Hello everyone! How are you? I am Ranelin and I will be your teacher for today's session. Today, we will be exploring the different sewing tools and equipment. But before that, we will be having a motivational activity first, which is Guess the Gibberish. All you need to do is to read the random word that will appear on your screen, speak aloud until you guess the right word based on the given phrase. So for the first gibberish word, needle. The answer is needle. The second gibberish word, low choco. The answer is tailor straw. The last one is T-rate flame pear. The answer is vet clipper. Our lesson for today is all about sewing tools and equipment. So we have here our learning objectives. After watching the multimedia video with animation, the students are expected to identify the different sewing tools and equipment, classify the different sewing tools and equipment to their function, and cite the importance of knowing the different sewing tools and equipments. Sewing equipment and different tools are used in garment construction. The skillful use of the different sewing equipment will help take body measurement and drafting pattern with accuracy and speed. Success in sewing calls for the right tools at the right time. All tools must be appropriate in the proper order, and one must know how to use them at the same time and produce the best result. So for the first type of sewing tool is the measuring tools. Sewing measuring tools are essential for pattern alterations and body measurements to ensure a good garment fit. Measurements should be taken often and accurately. There are some measuring tools that should be part of every sewing box. So, measuring tools in sewing are essential instruments used to ensure accuracy and precision in measuring fabrics, patterns, and garment dimensions. These tools help tailors and crafters achieve precise cut, accurate seam allowances, and well-fitted garments. So, an example of a measuring tool is a ruler. So, a ruler is a measuring 12 inches or even 18 inches, either clear or solid. It is a useful tool to have for measuring and drawing straight seam lines and cutting lines. It also aids in connecting lines. A clear ruler is also a good tool for marking buttonholes. So, a ruler is a straight measuring tool with markings, and it is used in various other fields for measuring lengths, widths, and angles. Another example of a measuring tool is a tape measure. A tape measure is a flexible measuring device used in taking body measurements. The front has the measurement of 150 centimeters and 60 inches on the other side. Fiberglass tape is commonly used by dressmakers. So a tape measure is a flexible measuring tool used in sewing, tailoring, and for taking body measurements, determining fabric lengths, and measuring curve or irregular surfaces. So the next one is a seam gauge. A small ruler with a sliding guide that is about 6 inches long. This gauge is used for measurements at hemlines, buttonholes, and areas where other small measurements require checking, such as pleats and tucks. So the gauge is usually made of metal or plastic. So we also have a yardstick. A yardstick is made of smooth, shellac, hardwood, or metal. It is used for marking hemlines and checking grain lines when laying out the pattern. Though a yardstick is also useful in drawing long lines, measuring from the floor to the hem length helps to gauge finish the job of the hem, and it also helps to check the straight grain lines and other straight measurement in pattern making. Another measuring tool is a French curve. This is used to shape the depth of the neck hole and armhole of a pattern. So a French curve is a curve measuring tools used to create smooth and accurate curves for necklines, sleeves, collars, and other curved edges. So another type of sewing tool is the cutting tools. Cutting tools are instruments that serve well if properly maintained. Sharp cutting tools make clean cuts and well-defined notches, and they do not damage fabric. On the other hand, dull tools slow the cutting process and make your hand and wrist scar easily. Sewing cutting tools should not be used for other household patterns and other materials with precision and accuracy. So an example of cutting tools is the pinking shears. This is a popular in zigzagging or scallop edge or far seam finishes. This is used to finish seams and row edges and to create decorative edges on many types of fabric. It is cut with a rubble-resistant edge, and this is not satisfactory for straight cutting. So pinking shears are specialized accessors with serrated blades that creates a zigzag or sawtooth edge with the cutting fabrics. Another example of cutting tools is thread clippers. Thread clippers are a handy little spring-loaded cutting tool that allow for the snipping of threads. These clippers are specifically used to snip threads, and they are not designed to cut fabric. So thread clippers are designed for precision cutting and trimming of threads. Next is a seam ripper, are specifically designed for ripping out stitches from seams, either as a result of an error or during alterations. These should be used carefully to prevent damage to the fabric. So we also have these marking tools. Marking tools are required for transferring pattern markings to garment fabric pieces and for making alterations on garments. So an example of a marking tool is a tracing wheel. A tracing wheel, also known as a pattern wheel, punch wheel, and a dart wheel, is an instrument with multiple teeth on the wheel attached to a handle. The teeth can either be serrated or smooth. It is used to transfer markings from sewing patterns into fabric with or without the use of a tracing paper, and can be used to mark slotted perforations. Such markings might include pleats, darts, buttonholes, notches, or placement lines for appliques and pockets. Next is a tailor's chalk, a thin flat piece of hard chalk or soapstone used by tailors and seamstresses for making temporary marks on cloth. Another marking tool is a dressmaker's carbon paper. Dressmaker's carbon paper, also called dressmaker's tracing paper, is a specially waxed carbon paper that transfers the tracing wheel's marking to the fabric. A color of tracing paper should be chosen that is close to the color of the fabric. Different brands of tracing paper have different instructions. Therefore, the instructions for the particular brand that is purchased should be followed. So, we also have this pinning and sewing tool. Pinning tools are used to fasten, support, or attach things, while sewing tools are the various instruments used for sewing by hand or machine. So, an example of a sewing tool is a hand needle used in marking temporary stitches and buttonholes. Sizes of 7 to 10 are for junior hand sewing. So, needle are essential tools in sewing that are used to stitch fabric pieces together, create seam, and add decorative embellishment to a garments. So, an example of a pinning tool is a pin cushion. A pin cushion holds the straight pins and needles while working to prevent accidents. So, pin cushions are used to store and organize straight pins and needles in sewing and crafting. The next one is a thimble. Thimble is a small hard-weighted cup worn for protection in the finger that pushes the needle in sewing temporarily marks on the cloth. So now let us proceed to the different types of sewing machine. So we have a lock stitch sewing machine. This is usually used in homes and sometimes in school. This is called domestic sewing machine. It is run by foot and may also be converted to electric power machine. Next is the high-speed lock stitch sewing machine. This is sometimes called straight stitching machine or industrial sewing machine. It has automatic lubrication and is used by tailors and dressmakers.